Hello, today I'm going to talk about the differences between patricians and plebeians. Ancient Rome was a civilization that began growing on the Italian peninsula as early as the 8th century before Christ. Roman society came to be divided into two classes of citizens by birth. The upper class of citizens was a small group of wealthy landowners who believed they were from some of the first families in Rome. They were called Patricians, which means father, and they claimed to have noble status in Roman society because they controlled the most valuable land and held military and religious offices. The Patricians were a hereditary aristocracy. The lower class of Roman citizens were called plebeians, which means many. The word plebs just means everyone else apart from the aristocracy. It started out meaning something like the majority or all the rest. Plebeians, who made up about 95% of the population, were mostly peasants, laborers, artisans, shopkeepers, and soldiers. Plebeians didn't have privileges as patricians, and they were unable to participate in government matters, but they were required to pay taxes and served in the Roman army. If you were born a plebeian, you stayed a plebeian. Plebeians could not vote and they didn't own land. Patricians had privileges as not paying taxes and they could vote. The patricians were also the most powerful people because they had total control of all political privilege and all high offices, including the priesthood. Only patricians could become emperor. The plebeians were treated so badly that if they fell into debt, they could be sold into slavery. Rome was a very male-dominated society. Plebeians would wake up at dawn to eat a breakfast of probably bread and water, just to go and work in either the store or on the fields all day. Only the wealthier plebeians could afford to give their children education. The fathers would teach the sons his job, and the mothers would teach their daughters household skills. After work, they would go home and eat dinner. Plebeians tried going to sleep as early as possible. This was because they'd have to wake up early in the morning for work. On the other hand, patricians could afford to give their children education and didn't have to work as much as plebeians. The patrician father was in charge of the house. The man of the house would normally work business in the morning and a bath at afternoon after exercise. The lady of the house was expected to take care of all household needs. Wealthy men and women didn't need to wake up so early in the morning. This gave them time to enjoy a good breakfast and pray at their shrine. Wealthy men didn't work in fields, but rather fulfilled their job by writing letters, meeting other clients and businessmen. Wealthy women spent the day planning dinner parties for when their husband returns home, and they had very little education. They had servants and slaves that looked after their house and land. Plebeians lived above shops and stores in little apartments. The poorer plebeians had houses that contrasted the splendorous homes of the wealthy patricians, and for them raising a family was an expensive proposition, so much so that babies would sometimes be left in the streets for someone else to feed and raise. Finally, intermarriage between patricians and plebeians were forbidden. The big difference between patricians and plebeians caused many conflicts in Rome. Originally, all public offices were open only to patricians. A series of social conflicts as conflict of the orders, plebeians won the abolition of the intermarriage law and the creation of office of tribune of the plebs. This office was created against the powers of the patrician class, and only plebeians were eligible. Later revolts forced the Senate to grant the tribunes additional powers. The conflict between the classes ended in 287 before Christ, when patricians and plebeians were declared equal under the law. Following these changes, the distinction between patrician and plebeian status became less important, and by the late Republic of Rome, the patrician were a few priesthoods. Over time, some patrician families declined, and some plebeian families improved in status, and the composition of the ruling class changed. Patricians and plebeians had the same power in the society.